Welcome to the Let's Talk Property with MFS podcast. MFS are a bridging loan and buy-to-let mortgage provider and not a financial advisors. The opinions expressed in this episode are personal to the host and guest and may not reflect the views of MFS. Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Property with MFS. Today we have the amazing Helen from COHO, who's going to talk to us about all things HMO and property management. So Helen, thank you very much for making your way over to come see us today. Would you be able to tell the listeners a little bit about COHO, what they do and what you guys do over there and everything else, please?
Sure, thank you, Mark. So yes, COHO is a property management specialist software for HMOs.
Amazing.
We built it out for HMOs due to the complexities and the regulations within the sector. We have a specific angle for providing tenant care. So
Amazing.
It's not just property management, it's tenancy
So
management
it's a full
as
service
well.
for managing and operating HMO.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Okay, so I mean, obviously communication is one of the big things that you guys sort of look at, but what was the main driving factor for you, starting the business? And was it because you saw a huge need for it, a lot more people moving to the HMO space, and it's sort of really driven you towards it? Is that what?
Yeah, well, I think the inspiration actually started off quite a few years back when our founder, Van Vogstad, lived in a house share. The landlord that he was renting from had 13 HMOs, and he came out of it feeling like he had an amazing experience and, believing that HMO house share is just the same for everyone. And of course, very quickly found out that that is not the case, right? So, funnily enough, when we talk about COHO, the software is just the start of what we want to do. Our biggest, bigger ambition really is to improve the tenant experience overall within house shares. So, if we had a different way and didn't have to build software for it, perhaps that would have been another route, but we needed to find a commercially viable route to actually do that. So our thinking behind it is that with it being quite difficult, more difficult to manage HMOs as a portfolio, if we can provide modern technology to help the whole process for landlords, investors, managing operators, then that's a massive step forward, isn't it? So when you talked about communication, that is absolutely key within a house share. You've got, not a single tenant, you've got a multiple of tenants needing to kind of live together and experience the rental lifespan together. And the communication is really between the manager and the tenants between themselves as well.
That's it's a very good thing that you guys are creating there, because like you said, it's especially with your landlord and everything, it's someone's got multiple HMOs, and most people, let's face it, they're not going to have a HMO around the corner from their house. So being able to communicate with your landlord via a platform which doesn't involve various other means that most people contact, which we'll get onto in a bit shortly. But I think anything that can make the tenant's experience a lot nicer and the landlord's life a lot easier, it's always going to be amazing, isn't it? Really?
Of course, if you've got a system in place, then it's a lot easier to manage those communications. But it's also that, within HMOs, you've got the kind of, regulations as well. And, the whole thing is, to do with compliance. It's much more complex, and you've got to really keep on top of those. Within HMOs, you've got quicker turnarounds. So, you're kind of moving in, moving out, a lot sooner. You've got documentation that you've got to keep up to date and handling.
So all of that can be done through COHO as well?
All of it. So COHO is an all-in-one platform. And, anything from the start of the tenancy, from your viewing and communication throughout the application process, referencing, signing the AST, all the way through to maintenance management and to moving out the tenant. So yes,
absolutely fantastic. Now, the type of clients you're seeing, are they people that own one or two, or are you seeing, like, large 15 probably HMOs and above, or is it just a mixed bag of all sorts that you guys generally tend to see?
I'm going to say it's a whole range actually, and strangely, it's a third of landlords with just a few HMO properties, and then a third your middle range with probably managing up to 100 tenants, that is. And then we are also seeing a lot of larger agencies that specialise in HMOs that are coming to our door, and I think it's really to do with the fact that it's a market that's been neglected in terms of tech and tools.
Yeah.
A lot of software that's out there is built by landlords for generic, single lets.
Single bed ASTs.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that, we'll probably talk about that later on, but, it's time. It's time to really professionalise the sector, and I think what's really amazing for us is that we recognise that the majority of the market is self-managing landlords, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then,
especially now with the cost of everything, people are trying to shave any bit of money they can off,
yeah,
which sometimes in effect could be a bit detrimental to the tenant, as you've probably seen, and that's
yeah.
why platforms like yours just come into play, because it's literally all there on the screen, ready to.
But I think that there are a lot of investors that would rather not, run a management team themselves.
Yeah.
So it is an answer for both. If you want to manage yourself, or if you actually want to, let an agency to actually run them. But this is the problem that's come about, is that agencies and managing professionals have not had the tools either. So it is, it's all to do with professionalising the practices of running a HMO portfolio, and it answers for both, all three kinds that I've mentioned.
So you'd have the people that are sort of a bit experienced, got one or two, to the really, really super experienced, and then I suppose with HMOs, the bigger it gets, the even more difficult it gets, because like you say,
it's in multiples. It's not just another single let, is it? It's in multiples, and it just gets very, very busy very quickly. I would say that from probably about 3 properties, and bearing in mind that a lot of HMO investors are not there to have the one. They are looking to grow their portfolio if it becomes their main strategy.
Yeah.
So they do tend to kind of keep working on, every year it's another one, or
I'll
even some of them are turning around quicker.
I've not met many HMO owners that own just one.
Exactly.
They own at least 3 or more.
Exactly.
We're seeing a lot more people enter the market. So the last 6 to 12 months, would you say HMO market's gone a bit crazy?
It has absolutely gone crazy. I mean, one, for the demand, 2, recognising the demand, but also, there's been a bit of a call for professionalism anyway within the rental sector.
Yeah.
But it's just, everything, the budget, everything has really squeezed, margins. It's making people think more seriously about their portfolios and running them as a business, so that they can benefit from the cash flow as well as the long-term sort of, financial benefits as well.
For HMO, something it's really big, and we were both on an event, weren't we, for Premier Property, where Cam, he does a hell of a lot of that stuff as well. He does like 10 of them a month at the moment, which is fascinating. But obviously, COHO's communication is the key thing. Most people normally use, as a lot of my tenants will use with me, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And obviously this is to try and not steer it away from that. But would you say WhatsApp's a good tool, or would you say it's something that shouldn't really be used for this sort of, if you need something fixed or you need something sorted, text your landlord at 1 o'clock in the morning saying the boiler's broke on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So
I would say that the majority of the market uses WhatsApp for managing their property portfolios and communication with the tenants. I would like to point out that WhatsApp wasn't built to, do this for property. It wasn't designed for property management. So then it comes along, although it's very accessible, everybody has WhatsApp on their phone. So every tenant, adoption is very, very easy.
Yeah.
However, it causes its problems, because from WhatsApp, you're probably, scrolling down a lot to see information that's potentially
if you've got 100 tenants, WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people use various groups in households and so forth. but it's very, very difficult to manage. It becomes harder very quickly as you grow your portfolio.
Yeah.
So the way that we've tackled that is that we have our own messaging center within COHO, and that you can imagine everything's linked to the property, it's linked to the room,
Just
it's
look at
linked to
that
the tenant.
property.
You can
and
click within
yeah.
it and find out who it is very quickly. There is a bit of flexibility in terms of we thought about how it needs to work for HMOs as well, because you've got households, household communication. You can broadcast things. Sometimes you want to just say something. It might just be a reminder for bin dates or something that you might not
So you can
want
message
to
everyone
come
within
back.
the.
You can broadcast across your entire portfolio, Merry Christmas, whatever, but you can also broadcast within a household. You can also message to individuals as well. And it works both ways, because if you've got maintenance issues that the tenant's reporting, they can actually, request some kind of repair job, put the evidence in. It works in the sense that,
Backs
WhatsApp.
everything up. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It works very similar to WhatsApp, apart from it's easier to find things are coordinated in a way to help you, on an everyday basis, find the information you need very quickly.
Because no matter how organised you like to think you are, if I look at my WhatsApp now, it is just a mishmash of everything. But then I do, some of my personal investments are on my personal phone, so then I have family members messaging me, you have tenants, you have everything all rolled in.
Very distracting,
Yeah.
can't it?
And I suppose something like that, like you're saying, is, you've reported a fault or an issue, the tenant can then broadcast the message to everyone within the house.
They can share an issue to the household.
Say, look, the electrician will be here between 2 and 5 this day, if someone can let him in, or we're going to gain it, whatever it may be. And I think that does make a nice, smooth transition.
It's a professional messaging mechanism, so that it discourages the chit chat in between. When you're on COHO, the messagings, you're actually, you're having a professional conversation with the manager, and that enables you, hopefully it filters out any of
you
the
feel like you're being more professional using.
So I would say that people like it, our users like it, because they're having to check the messages less frequently, because there's not a load of other gossip and things like that mixed amongst the messages. It becomes and they only pick it up when they actually need something, rather than just to have a chit chat.
And I think as well, like you're saying, where you can, each property's individually targeted, so you're not sitting there thinking, right, who lives at this one, which one's that one, oh yeah, it's, or having to go to a spreadsheet and then look at the spreadsheet.
Finding the historical issues as well that have come from that particular house or that particular tenant, different tenants reporting different things that might be within a communal area. It's just so much easier to go, oh yes, well, I'm going to send the handyman over to see this, but this tenant's also reported something else, and they can you can group jobs.
I think with HMOs, not everyone generally talks to, well, I like to think everyone does, but sometimes people's work life and everything's scheduled, sometimes people are just like ships in the night, so they don't really actually get to they don't sit down in the living room once a week and say, right, is there anything we need sorting or anything like that? So I suppose this brings that sort of effect to it, like they're all sitting around the table together discussing what needs, like,
for transparency. It's great for an audit trail, it's great for sorting out your management, and
I see as well, I was having a flick through the website the other day, and then do you advertise properties for rent as well on there as well? So then it's, again, people can go on there to find. And is it only tenants only landlords that use COHO that use that then? So then anyone renting off that part of the website will know that they're using the COHO management systems to do everything?
So at the moment it's open only to, so the listings portal is only open to the users that are subscribed onto COHO. And we make it a natural, part of their journey of onboarding a property and their rooms, so that all the pictures are uploaded, floor plans, and existing tenants as well, so that it's ready when it's available to list and market next time round. So if you go onto the listing portal at coho.life, then you will find available rooms there. And what's really interesting is that, going back to our original sort of mission of making the tenant experience better in shared housing, we started. Early on, we were called the kind of Tinder of house shares, because ultimately, we think that if you can attract compatible tenants, then they're going to have a better experience. They're going to stay longer. It's better for the investors. They're
Yeah.
easier to manage, right? When a manager is on COHO and invites the tenant to come onto COHO, we ask the tenant to provide a short profile, which involves a picture. It's
So you're
all
not placing
optional.
someone in a room that's not going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've got an identity, but we also ask a little bit about, they can have a one-liner kind of strap line about their interests. We've got little like playful icons that shows their interests as well. So, it might be somebody's quite sporty, somebody likes a quiet night in, somebody likes to cook together,
That's nice though.
And I think that, we have this vision that, at some point, we will be able to open up the listings portal to the market and more seriously market it. At the moment, we've been building the kind of, I suppose, the distribution across the UK because we don't want to start marketing it and then have tenants rock up and then, find it, look for a very specific area and not find something. But, it is building very nicely. If you saw the distribution, density chart within the UK of where all our customers are, it's quite a good coverage of the UK. So we're getting there. We're almost ready. I think, the whole point is that when a tenant, I can tell you that tenants actually, hundreds of tenants come. The market's quite strong at the moment. Hundreds of tenants actually do come and find listings or rental rooms already available on COHO.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's sort of. So again, you've got that sort of a lot of people that are either relocating for work or especially around hospitals and schools. I know quite a few of my clients, their sort of HMO tenant is, junior doctors and nurses. Again, they're a good type of client. They're normally places near the hospitals. And, if you've got someone moving on the north, comes to work in London at a new hospital, these are, fantastic things for people to have. They got one bill all in. And we're seeing a lot of that, but obviously there's been some interesting stuff within the property market since the 2021 budget. I mean, what are you seeing? Have you seen it become more difficult for the HMO space since the budget, or would you say it's not really affected it too much?
I think that it's probably encouraged a different breed of investors to look at their strategies. I think that the HMO investor I think that they're more serious investors anyway. Like you said, you see that they don't usually appear and just invest in one HMO. It's usually part of a strategy.
Yeah.
And when it's part of the strategy, there is a growth strategy in place. And I think that people are just doing it a little bit differently. And I think, with something like COHO, what we are promoting is creating a more sustainable business within the portfolio. So, if you are then looking at it as a business, as a long-term thing, and you're being smarter about it, then you're probably looking at, right, how am I I've got the property, that's like obviously, one investment, but the other, in the meantime, very important aspect is the operational side.
Yeah.
So if you've got a slick running business that, is optimizing your income, keeping your tenants engaged, keeping your tenants in place and paying, perhaps you could, get away with receiving a bit higher rental in this market as well. If you add the value, we see the service as something that you can charge extra rent for, or agencies can charge extra fees for.
It's being professionally run, professionally maintained and operated. And I suppose it gives the landlord as well, or the investor, frees up a bit more time to focus on purchasing and converting properties as opposed to worrying about the existing ones 100%. That are sort of running. So would it be so, a lot of your clients, would they just look on it maybe at the end of the day, sort of how they generally, or do they obviously get a note, if there's an issue, they'll get a notification, but will people generally just hop on at the end of the day, check, see if there's any issues from any tenants and things like that? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you've got a larger portfolio, just say, it doesn't take much to actually get to about 40, 50, tenants. When it's that size and upwards, you are probably looking at it every day. When you've got a smaller portfolio, then perhaps you won't hear from your tenants for a while, unless, you're using it to kind of, onboard new tenants, for example, because you've got paperwork to do, right? So yes, there are notifications that come up that makes things easier, but we have a main dashboard where you actually come in and see what your tasks are, whether it's repairs, compliance, tenant communication, that sort of thing. There's lots of notifications that come through when your attention is needed.
And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's when your attention is needed, you've got to do it.
Yeah, but that's really important when you're talking about freeing people's time. I think one of the biggest challenges where you're running, it might be that you have a large portfolio, but it still is a small business in the business world in terms of
Yeah.
an
Yeah, makes
enterprise,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
So the team that you're running is probably still going to be small. You might have one, assistant, VA, administrator, or, if you're a little bit big, you might have like a full-time property manager, a letting, salesperson, for example, in the business. But, it is all about that. It's about using your skills so that you can actually delegate to others to do, it's valuing your time really so that you can continue to grow the business and know that you've got a system in place in order to,
One thing you haven't got to worry about either, because it's going to do what it's going to do what it needs.
Yeah.
It's going to do what you need it to do in the background while you focus on bits like you said, I suppose. Then staff costing, you can save money on staff costing because you don't need multiple people to put data together to give it to you on one spreadsheet or whatever it may be.
Who goes into property investing for the love of admin, right? And I think a lot of people, a lot of people are a little bit, like maybe surprised it hits them later, because at the beginning of the journey it's all exciting. You actually
get the property, get the tenants, get the property, get the tenants.
The results. But then after that, the management of it is, all the operational side of it. Yes, as a business owner, you need to know all the stats. You need to see that the rents are coming in, who's in arrears, what processes that you've got to actually chase, do for credit control. You want to, if you are managing for others, then you want to see your landlord statements nice and neat with all the kind of repairs, supply invoices, you want to see all of that, but you don't want to be the person kind of putting the data in.
Me and admin are not friends, and it's normally stuff that you end up having to do late at night, or when it's the only time you sort of sometimes get round to doing that sort of thing. But then do you find a lot of people sort of get all these properties and all of a sudden think, oh my God, how do I manage them? And then they're on the phone to guys like you saying, look, I've got all these properties, it's now getting a bit out of hand. What can you do for me? Because I suppose they can see as well what's profitable and what's not. So you can sort of look at the end of the year and see, right, out of the 5 properties I've got, this one's renting me the most at the moment. This is probably the worst. It might be worth looking to either offload this one, swap it out for a different area, stuff like that. So I guess that's all tools and analytics that people can access via the website as well.
Not analytics in that sense. Once you're in COHO, obviously you have your performance, you have occupancy performances. You can see obviously when how often your rents are paid on time. Your kind of turnaround and things like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's once you actually start using COHO, you can start seeing obviously how successful the portfolio is running. You've got your cash flow, you've got your profitability, because we're actually starting to see money coming in, money going out and so forth. So that's really, really good. I would say that with the landlords that are looking to, grow, it is really important to look at systems that you might not be a systems person, you might not want to kind of create. When people come to us, it tends to be at the point where they've got that growth plan and they're just continuously being backtracked because they're having to look at the system and the processes, right? And so when they come to us, it's very much like, they might have lots of paperwork that hasn't been scanned, digitalized yet. They will have a lot of things on WhatsApp. They've got photos. They've got photos that they use for their listings on their mobile phone. They've got, Excel spreadsheets that are not saved on the cloud. So then, other people can't actually come in and collaborate with them. If you can't have these things, digitalized, then you can't share the workload. That's a first thing. The next thing to point out is that, when people look at, they're a bit nervous. We're like, normal people are not that tech savvy. We don't want to, we're not computer geniuses. We can just about order something on Amazon and get our Tesco delivery
I can do that much,
done.
I know that.
So, we really focus on the user experience because it's not just for professional, letting, staff, it's for the everyday user. So then, if you think about the types of staff that you want to bring in and get onto COHO.
Mm.
It's good. It's easy to use for tenants. It's easy to use for landlords, as well as the professional staff. And the whole point is that we've made sure that it is, comparatively cheaper than hiring another member of staff, A, to design, a system for you, B, to actually run the operations for you. So it's supposed to be cost effective in that sense.
And like you're saying, if people aren't that technology savvy like me, trying to build and do something that works within your system could be very lengthy and time consuming. I suppose a lot of people as well, they assume I haven't got 100 properties. What do I need this clever bit of tech for? But then you're making it, like you're saying, for people who've got 1 or 2 properties.
There's
up to
loads of processes and workflows that, we've done this not just by asking one landlord. We've done this by talking to hundreds, and we continue to, evolve the software to make sure that it's, best for compliance. It's best. There are people that come up and they say, "Oh, this is brilliant. It tells me exactly what compliance stuff I need to do, and it reminds me to actually do it." So you don't have to think
would that be like your gas safety certificates?
Yeah.
And
HMO license, EICR. Yeah, right.
So I love that, because it's these are things that people do forget about sometimes.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely amazing. And what advice would you give for landlords at the moment, especially in the HMO space? I know.
I can't. Yeah, I'm not in a position to actually advise. However, I can, explain some of the kind of experiences that I've been having.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So, speaking to people, I'm seeing that there is a lot of movement in terms of, repurposing single lets into smaller HMOs. I think, especially it's just the strategy, isn't it? It's just try and make more out of what you've got. I'm seeing a lot of activity in commercial, properties again being repurposed into larger HMOs.
Development style.
I'm seeing a lot of mega mo's or monster mo's. Some people are calling it at the moment. Then, I think importantly, I'm not seeing it stopping. People are not scared of it. If anything, they're kind of fine tuning and very much attracted to the HMO sector at the moment as a strategy. All of the property events, like the one that you mentioned, Premier Property with Cam. This exactly, it's all that everyone's talking about because, but I would say, think about the longer term strategy, think about how you're actually going to make money out of it, not just, the money being in the property itself, think about
it on a monthly basis, providing a residual income, which is
how to optimize
the aim of the game a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, the co-living concept is something that, I do talk about a lot because, people tend to dismiss it thinking, oh, it's just a posh HMO, it's expensive wallpaper and things like that. But actually, like to me, co-living is beyond the property. It's what makes the property a home.
Yeah.
And it's about the compatibility in the tenants and, letting multiple people, different individuals that come from different walks of life to come together and enjoy their home together over, hopefully a longer, period. That's, to me, that's the concept of co-living.
Family style, isn't it, sort of thing. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more co-living deals now, large ones as well, sort of 100 units plus. Yeah. So it is becoming, a huge thing. I think it's definitely something everyone needs to be looking out for.
There's definitely those that are larger, establishments that will go way beyond the norm to provide certain facilities and services to attract the right, that top end clientele. But I think that co-living should be applied across all HMOs, to be honest, as a concept. We're not talking about, loads of dressing or things like that, but it's just attracting that kind of next level of tenants that will actually care a little bit about who they're living with and where they're living.
And I think that does in turn affect the way people look after properties, and with everyone within the property, like you said, you generally get a better type of tenant, don't you, where everyone's living in harmony. And
it is a dream come true, for every investor, right? Because it's those things, it's the troublesome, inquiries that take up a lot of the management time. It's the things that nobody enjoys dealing with. So yeah, I mean, if you can minimise, some of that, that could really, really help. Again, carve out time to focus on the business growth.
Just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much for coming today and telling us everything about COHO and HMOs and properties. But I'd just like to finish if you'd be able to let the listeners know where they can find you, where they can find COHO, and everything else. So if they want more information, where to head to, basically.
Thank you. So, of course, I've mentioned coho.life, which is the listings portal, but also if you are managing HMOs as a landlord or a lettings agency, you can, on the top right corner, there is a little button that says instant demo, and you can experience COHO with a mock portfolio. Amazing. So you can actually interact with it and put in your own data and trial it out, see it from tenants' point of view as well, which is great. And then on social media, I'm Helen Turner COHO. You can find me across Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well. Amazing. But also, I'd like to mention the HMO Awards, something that COHO organises. We are, yes, so it's the biggest gathering of HMO professionals in a single place. It's a festival style celebration, but the awards, aims to kind of recognise those that are doing really well, and we've got lots of TED Talks, mini TED Talks to kind of leave inspiration, but it's a chance for anybody who's interested in HMOs to come along and really rub shoulders with those that are demonstrating the best in the industry. And for us, it's about elevating the quality within HMOs as a market, and let's do it all together, because we can't do it on our own.
Absolutely amazing. Well, look, just want to say thanks again for coming along today, and good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd just like to say thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Property with MFS today. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe, and don't miss out on any of our future episodes. If you want to learn more about market financial solutions and what we do, please do visit www.mfsuk.com.